Before World War I, America had taken part in the worldwide trend of new imperialism by intervening in Latin American countries and even extending the Monroe Doctrine, which shows their readiness to become involved in world affairs.
However, the disillusionment after World War I, due to overall lack of benefits, influenced the following ideas of isolationism, which discouraged Americans from participating in World War II.
Even as Germany gained in power and took over lands, defying the Treaty of Versailles, America did not come to the aid of the Allies.
Although America was continuing to recover from the Great Depression as World War II began across the sea, the war itself led to many major changes in both American internal and foreign policies as relating to other countries. Foreign policies.
With World War II, a major shift took place in American politics. And so Americans were originally set in an isolationist mentality, as shown by the founding of the American First Committee, which was supported by the Nye Committee investigation into World War I, which found it to be a detrimental disappointment and waste of U.S. resources as well as lives.
This isolationist sentiment led to the passage of acts such as the Neutrality Acts of 1935, 36, and 37, and a complete withdrawal from Latin American affairs under Franklin Roosevelt.
Japanese aggression and the emergence of fascism made Americans even more determined to stay out of the mess in Europe, which is shown by the overwhelmingly negative reaction by Americans to Roosevelt's quarantine speech, as they did not desire involvement in any way, even to stop the spread of violence. In response to the American reluctance to assist the Allies, Roosevelt strategically pushed preparedness policies such as rearmament and militarism, using the Monroe Doctrine as reasoning.
This ideology changed greatly following the unprovoked attack on Pearl Harbor. The attack brought about extreme hatred towards the Japanese, and the American public shifted in support of the war effort, as they were deeply offended by the Japanese attacks. Resentment towards the Japanese led to Japanese-American internment. It showed a new prejudice towards these people.
Other changes involved the minorities of America, such as women and African Americans. The WWII campaign shows a change in the African American method of gaining political equality from a mode of economic elevation to one of military recognition.
Changes can also be seen by women who, encouraged by political propaganda, such as Rosie the Riveter, flooded the workforce and took industrial jobs vacated as a result of the Selective Service Draft of 1940. This was different from earlier female labor, as married women were encouraged to take jobs outside the home for the very first time, shifting gender expectations.
America's interactions with other nations changed during World War II, and this is shown by the Stimson Doctrine, in which America did not address the legitimacy of Japan invading Manchuria. And this avoidance shows that America is still not willing to get involved.
Roosevelt's good neighbor policy also shows how America retreated from foreign interaction before Pearl Harbor. This policy backed America out of Latin American affairs, and countries such as Cuba, which had resented the Platt Amendment, were appeased by lesser amounts of U.S. interference. These actions implemented by the U.S. showed how America continued to focus on itself and its own problems due to negative feelings stirred by World War I.
As the war progressed and France was defeated, Britain was the only barrier that remained between American security and German infiltration. This is when the United States began to realize how British survival was so crucial in protecting democracy, which is shown by the passage of the less restrictive Neutrality Act of Cash and Carry, which was technically neutral but favored Britain. America started shifting away from neutrality, as seen by the Four Freedoms speech given by Roosevelt that proposed lending money to Britain in exchange for the protection of democratic values.
Roosevelt's proposal of the Lend-Lease Act openly supported the Allied powers, granting Britain the ability to obtain U.S. arms on credit. At this time, the majority of public opinion had shifted toward aiding Britain, which led to the Atlantic Charter.
serving not only as one last attempt to keep America from officially entering the war, but also set the goals of the end of the war for the first time.
Although there were many minor continuities, the event of Pearl Harbor forever changed America's view on foreign intervention. In the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, America became fully involved in the war and started mobilizing its economy, and through the Office of Research and Development produced new technologies and weapons, which included the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project.
Another example to show America's total involvement in the war were the meetings in Tehran, Yalta, and Potsdam that were precautionary measures aimed to prevent another war. This shows change as Roosevelt officially met with allies for the first time and agreed to join the United Nations.
Major changes came about during World War II, such as shifts in U.S. internal and foreign policies, even though America was still attempting to recover from the Great Depression. When America finally entered the war, the introduction of the War Production Board changed the economy from stagnant to raging in comparison to previous attempts to stabilize the economy. This was seen especially by the deficit spending, which was far greater than any during the Depression.
In addition, unemployment virtually disappeared and production of goods was more efficient than ever before seen, which was what past presidents had been trying to achieve for America ever since the Depression hit.